During his time in World Championship Wrestling, Steve Austin was not part of the upper level. He wasn't what anyone would call a main eventer, yet he put on solid matches and he proved he could be quite dynamic in regards to his promos. Austin did have a place in WCW. He served as a reliable hand and someone the company could fall back on should they need a good heel mid-carder to go up against babyfaces in the same tier, or even babyfaces who were above Austin in terms of their overall stature within WCW. Austin said it was more or less impossible to break into that next tier in WCW during the era in which he worked for the company, though he also fully admitted that he didn't have the right look nor the right persona to be a main player within World Championship Wrestling. WCW, or rather Eric Bischoff, also thought that Steve Austin wasn't marketable. This little tidbit always gets brought up, saying as Stone Cold Steve Austin sold a ridiculous amount of Austin 316 shirts during his time in the WWF, but well, in WCW, fans wouldn't have been rushing out to buy stunning Steve Austin merchandise. The thing is, Austin was a great performer. There's a treasure trove of good Steve Austin matches within WCW that casual fans, both then and now, haven't even begun to dip into. And whether he was marketable or not, he was still great to watch in the ring. But Austin also felt he had way too much working against him while employed by WCW. Breaking into the main event was Steve's goal, as it should be for anyone stuck in the upper mid-card for practically their whole run. And things got even more difficult for Austin when Bischoff began signing huge main event ex-WWF stars to work in World Championship Wrestling, mainly Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. It was already tough to break through in WCW, but now it just became a whole lot tougher. Still, Austin continued working in WCW right up until mid-1995. He would then get sent over to New Japan, seeing as NJPW and WCW had a working agreement that would see both companies trade talent for short tours, and Austin ended up getting injured. The tour was the last 3 weeks. Austin said he got injured on the 3rd night of the tour, so he had no choice but to work the remaining dates dealing with a torn tricep. To this point, it was Austin's worst and most serious injury, and he'd have to get his first ever pro wrestling related surgery when he returned to the United States. Austin underwent surgery for his torn tricep, and naturally, he'd need to take time off before returning to the ring. Steve said he would show up to WCW TV tapings every now and then to see the boys and watch their matches, and in Steve's book, The Stone Cold Truth, he recalled seeing Kevin Sullivan during one of these tapings. Austin believes that Sullivan had something to do with what would happen next. Austin said Kevin was a good little office politician and someone who had, and I quote, one hell of a Napoleon complex. And Austin also believed that Sullivan didn't like him. He doesn't specify why, mind you. While at home, Eric Bischoff's assistant gave Steve a call. He was told to call Eric Bischoff as soon as possible, seeing as Eric tried to phone him earlier in the day, but he couldn't get through. Austin said he knew what was coming when he dialed in Eric's number. Eric said, "I just want to let you know, based on the amount that we're paying you and based on the number of days you've been incapacitated, we're going to exercise our right to terminate the agreement." Austin confirmed that he was being fired. He was going to lose a job that was bringing him in $300,000 per year, and Bischoff said yes. The FedEx letter arrived the next day, and while Steve was, of course, pissed off at being fired, he was also annoyed that Bischoff didn't do it in person. At the time, Steve only lived 30 miles from the CNN Center in Atlanta. He wouldn't have gotten angry or tried to attack anyone. He just felt he should have been treated like a human being, especially after all the work he had put in while being employed by WCW. At the same time, Steve wasn't overly surprised that he got fired. He recalled Bischoff once talking to him about his ring gear and how he wasn't all that marketable. He even recalled Eric suggesting to him that he should maybe consider going to New Japan full time, seeing as there wasn't much for him in WCW. But at the time, Steve didn't think much of it. Jim Ross said, "I've told Eric Bischoff several times since he joined WWE that one of the best things he ever did while he ran WCW was to fire Austin, because we would end up signing him and the rest is history." Eric did many good things managing WCW, especially when you consider the success of Monday Nitro. That was great competition which made both companies work smarter and more aggressively. Actually, Eric was not the first boss to fire a talent who went on to become a star, and he will not be the last. I'm just happy Bischoff pulled the trigger prematurely on the unmarketable guy with the short black boots and black tights. Austin's also since said if he were Eric Bischoff, he probably would have fired Stunning Steve Austin too. He was practically in the same spot during his entire WCW run, and if you can't go up, you're eventually going to stagnate or go down. But still, losing $300k per year would be a bitter pill to swallow for practically anyone, and Steve now had to worry about putting food on the table and making a living elsewhere. While sitting at home, Steve got a call from Paul Heyman completely out of the blue, and Paul wanted to know if Steve wanted to do a little work for ECW. At first, Austin was hesitant simply because he wasn't fully healed up from his triceps injury, and he felt there was nothing he could offer ECW at that point in time. Paul knew Steve couldn't wrestle, but surely Steve could still cut a few promos, and what's more, Paul knew Austin would have quite a lot to say if he was given the opportunity. ECW prided itself on being the alternative. Big companies like the WWF and WCW were seen as the enemy, so having Austin come over and say a few things about his previous employer was a surefire way to get ECW fans talking, and to also give Steve a great head start while working in the land of extreme. Austin and Paul were also good friends. Steve was part of the Dangerous Alliance faction in WCW, a faction headed by Paulie Dangerously, and one of the best heel stables in WCW's entire history. So these two were well acquainted with each other, and you can just tell by watching interviews and listening to interviews that both men liked each other. Steve did go on record though to say he wouldn't trust Mr. Heyman to do his taxes, but put that aside and you've got two guys who got along with each other and two men who wanted to do business together. Paul was going to pay Steve $500 a night to cut promos, a far cry from the near $6,000 Austin was earning per week in WCW, but still a good little payday for just talking into a microphone. And it's not like Austin had a wide range of options while he was still recovering from surgery. So Steve agreed to fly out to Philadelphia, and as it would turn out, this was one of the best decisions Steve ever made throughout his entire career. Steve asked Paul what he was going to talk about, what were these promos going to entail, and who exactly were these promos going to be directed at. Paul told Austin to just talk about how he feels, and after working for WCW for so long and essentially dealing with bullet points during his promos, this concept of speaking from the heart was quite new to Steve Austin. Paul said in an interview that he wanted Austin to vent, he wanted to see authentic outrage on his television show. Steve Austin may have been entering purgatory and he might not know what's next in his career, but he can certainly talk about where he just came from and what his current mindset is, as he essentially moves from a high-paying job into this land of misfits and rejects. Make no mistake about it, Steve Austin was, in every sense of the word, a reject at this point in time. He was essentially forced out of WCW by an executive producer who seemed all starry-eyed about his new signings, such as Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. So Steve did feel a lot of anger upon entering ECW, and if Steve could express that in his promos, well, Paul would get that authentic outrage he wanted to see on ECW television. Austin said, "I'm the new guy in the territory. What's my mission? What's my goal? Who am I? What am I? You know, you're kind of lost. I'll never forget that night when I cut my promo. It was about 7 or 8 minutes long. I started talking, it was a one-take promo, and everything I said was how I felt." Steve Austin was first seen on ECW television on the Gangsta's Paradise taping from the 16th of September 1995. That 7 or 8 minute promo wouldn't air until a few weeks later, but this is just due to the taped nature of ECW television shows at the time. We're going to look at Austin's appearances in chronological order as they aired on TV, but just keep in mind the promo Austin and Heyman were talking about didn't air first on TV. Instead, Austin was first seen doing his best Hulk Hogan impression at Gangsta's Paradise. Joey Styles tried to get a word with the Stevester, and here's what he had to say.
You're Steve Austin! You know, that's where you're wrong with me, Joey, because Steve Austin doesn't have what it takes to get it done in the ECW, brother. I was never allowed to reach past mid-card status in the WCW, brother. So you know what, dude? I looked at the greatest heavyweight champion of all time, brother, and I knew that I had to save my friends. I had to take the vitamins. Brother, I had to start training again. I had to get my mind right to do what it takes to get it done in the ECW, dude. And let me tell you something. I've been ECW, brother. Steve-A-Mania. I'm taking the vitamins. I'm saying my piss. I'm not gonna do this anywhere, not even in ECW, because there's no way this layman is gonna get the job done anywhere.
So you don't really need an explanation here, but basically the first time ECW fans saw Austin on TV, he ripped into Hulk Hogan. He thought that eating his vitamins and saying his prayers would help him reach main event status, but he soon realizes that the whole red and yellow thing is kinda lame, and it's a gimmick that certainly wouldn't cut it in ECW. It's a direct jab at Hogan, a direct jab at Bischoff for pushing Hogan to the main event while leaving Austin to rot away in the mid-card. But what's more important is the fact that fans now know that Steve could cut a humorous promo, and this is something Austin would excel at during the later portion of his WWF run. Granted, Austin was able to cut some funny promos in WCW, particularly when part of the Hollywood Blondes, but these were few and far between. The Stevester promo is very, very memorable though, and it showed fans that Steve didn't really care about burning bridges. Steve wasn't going back to WCW anytime soon, so he decided to rip into their top star, and I thought it was brilliant. A little too short maybe, but still brilliant. The next time ECW fans heard from Steve was actually during an in-ring promo. That long promo Heyman and Steve talked about would air right after this one, but this promo here with Mikey Whipwreck and the Sandman was also very important. It put Steve right in the ECW title picture, and Austin used his past experiences in WCW to convey exactly why he's in ECW. This promo aired on the October 3rd, 1995 episode of ECW Hardcore TV. However, it was recorded on the 23rd of September, 1995.
This place is a complete home. I'm horrified to be here. World Championship Wrestling wouldn't take a in this building, much less book a goddamn wrestling match here. The fact of the matter is, I appreciate the fact you had to whip somebody's ass. You had to kick somebody's ass, not lick it to get a damn championship belt. Down in Atlanta, you couldn't get because I didn't operate the right way. I'm not out here to start any with you, son. But let me tell you right now, your name's not Hogan. I came out here to wish you a good match, but your name's not Hogan, so I can whip your ass. Good luck.
Steve Austin, you're a man whose reputation precedes himself. Anytime, anywhere, I'm the Extreme Heavyweight Champion. If you want it, come on and get it.
Right. Good luck, Shan. Good luck. Come here. I'll tell you right now, I think you're a hell of a kid. But I ain't gonna shake your damn hand because you don't deserve to be in the same ring or building with Steve Austin. You're a good kid.
So Steve's just put himself in the ECW title picture. He couldn't get a sniff of the WCW championship, but right now he's being primed up for a possible run with the ECW title. Before we look at Steve's matches, we have more promos to look at. And next, it's that long promo we talked about earlier on. I think this one right here and his final promo were the best promos he cut during his time in ECW. But here it is. This one aired on the 10th of October episode of ECW Hardcore TV. This is the one where Paul told Austin to just speak his mind. The one where Paul wanted that authentic outrage. And man, Steve Austin did not disappoint at all.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, when Eric Bischoff told his secretary to tell her secretary to leave a message on my answering machine for me to call Eric Bischoff, and then I called Eric Bischoff, and he proceeded to fire me over the phone. I thought a big cloud was lifted off the career of Steve Austin. Because gone were the days where I'd go up to someone and say, "Hey, what about me and Sting? We got this big thing going, how about the cage?" And someone says, "No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you at right now." Well, then I said, "Well, how about me and Savage, man? I got this great idea, man. He comes in, he's got the Slim Jim deal. Well, hell, I got it." "No, Steve, that's for somebody else, baby." Then you go, "I got this great idea I can do it with Hulk Hogan. I'm gonna be the Steve-A-Maniac, and we're gonna take this thing all the way." Because Hulkamania was the biggest thing to ever come down wrestling's pike. And they say, "No, that's not for you, brother. You can't do that. We're gonna keep you right where you are." I said, "How about me and Brian get back together? The Hollywood Blondes, it was the best tag team to come along in 10 years. And they say, "No, Steve, we need you in a singles role, man. We need you to do this. We're gonna put the US title on you, and then we're gonna take you here, and then you're the #1 contender, so then you got this world title shot." Well, all that never happened. So there I am, floundering along. There's nothing going my way because the politics in WCW kept the biggest potential superstar in wrestling on the damn ground. What are you supposed to do? On one hand, they're paying you a bunch of money. They're paying me a bunch of money. Well, on this hand, they're telling me, "Hey, go out there and give Bagwell a hell of a match. Go out there with an 18-year-old German kid. Give him 7 good minutes. Let the people see what he can do." They say you are what you eat. In WCW, they didn't feed me nothing but garbage. So I let myself become garbage. I became complacent with everything that they said. As long as Big Ted kept sending in the checks, maybe I wasn't happy with what was going on, but I became complacent. Then they send me to Japan, the big injury. Bischoff delivers a shot heard around the damn world. Steve Austin's out of the high-paying job. Todd Gordon, whether he mortgaged his house 1 time, 2 times, maybe 3 times, came up with the right figure for Steve Austin to make a decision. I strolled into the ECW arena. It's the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. I broke in a building called the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas, home of the world-famous Von Erichs. Anybody that was anybody stepped foot in the Dallas Sportatorium. For the last 2 years, all you've heard about anywhere in wrestling is the famous ECW arena. Debut night, I roll in. You've got the Sandman. You've got the Raven. You got the Pit Bulls. You got Stevie Richards. You got the Public Enemy. You got the Gangsters. You got Mikey Whipwreck, whatever the hell his name is. You got a bunch of damn misfits running around thinking that they can actually wrestle. All I've seen in ECW is a bunch of violent crap. And that's exactly what I'll call it, because that's what it is. Steve Austin is here to wrestle. It's what I do best. It's what I do better than anybody in the world. Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, they got the big send-off. Tears were in everybody's eyes. It was a big deal. All Steve Austin got was a good swift kick in the ass as Bischoff hung up the phone and left me high and dry. There's no Hogans here. There's no Flairs here. There's not a Dusty Rhodes. And there damn sure isn't an Eric Bischoff here. There's no one that can hold back Steve Austin now. Stunning, tossed it out the window. Never was meant to be. ECW is gonna find out firsthand what Steve Austin can do. And I'm gonna show everybody here exactly what a true superstar is supposed to do. What a true superstar is supposed to be. Because no one here can hold me back. Not Todd Gordon. Not Hulk Hogan. Not Eric Bischoff. Nobody. I'm gonna be the superstar that I always knew that I could be. Because there's no one in ECW that can stop me.
Many people state that the Stone Cold character really started in ECW, and after watching that promo, it's easy to see why. Never had Steve Austin been so raw before, and never had Austin been so intimidating before. And it all happened because Austin, for the first time in his pro wrestling career, was allowed to be himself. Apparently, Austin wanted to watch other folks cut their promos before speaking himself, and Austin stated that he loved watching Mick Foley and Raven cut their promos. And you know what Mick Foley promo aired on ECW TV just a few weeks before this one? Yeah, the Kane Dewey promo. One of the all-time great Cactus Jack promos. So Austin was seeing these other guys talking from the heart and bringing their real-life experiences into their mic work, and evidently it inspired Steve to do the exact same thing. Apparently, this promo was also recorded at 4 in the morning. Everyone had already spoken in front of the camera, and Austin must have been pretty fired up. It's an all-timer right here, and when folks talk about the birth of Stone Cold Steve Austin, they simply have to look at this promo from the 10th of October episode of Hardcore TV. Austin was now known as Superstar Steve Austin. He said he wasn't a misfit like the other guys working for the company, and Paul Heyman decided to use the song Superstar from Jesus Christ Superstar as Steve's new entrance music. Two weeks later, footage was shown from the South Philly Jam inside the ECW arena where the Sandman defended his ECW championship against young Mikey Whipwreck. Steve Austin appeared in the ring before the match, and this time he wasn't so friendly towards the Sandman. He told the ECW champion that he's got another 6 weeks before he can get cleared to wrestle, but Steve doesn't want to wait that long. And seeing his Sandman isn't named Hulk Hogan, the superstar Steve Austin would have no problem whipping the Sandman's ass and taking his title. Sandman would end up hitting Austin with his Singapore cane, and the ECW champion told Steve that this isn't Atlanta, this isn't World Championship Wrestling, this is ECW, and Austin's just another jabroni. Sandman then said something that made Austin snap. He called him a Hulk Hogan wannabe. As soon as Sandman said this, Austin tackled him to the ground, and other ECW wrestlers had to run down to break the man up. It wasn't only Austin who wanted a piece of Sandman though. Conan showed up seconds later and he started throwing right hands at the champion. And do keep in mind that Sandman also had a title defense coming up against Whipwreck. In the end, Sandman was able to win though. A big leg drop from the top of the ladder was enough to put Mikey away, but clearly the ECW champion had a lot of people coming after him, and one of those people was superstar Steve Austin. Next up is the infamous Monday Nyquil promo airing on Hardcore TV on the 31st of October. Steve Austin's doing his best Eric Bischoff impersonation as he welcomed fans to WCW Monday Nyquil, and here's what he had to say.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Monday Nyquil, where the big boys play with each other. I apologize for the balloons, but I had to fire the pyrotechnician guy because he couldn't show up. I did it over the phone, no less, but I had to fire him. Okay, right here where the big boys play with each other. On my right, as of always, Bongo. Bongo, how you doing? Okay, now the brain couldn't be here tonight. Pan over here to where the brain's supposed to be. Brain couldn't be here, so I had my secretary leave a message on his answer machine, and when he calls me, I'm gonna fire him on the phone just like I did Austin, because that's the way I deal with people. I'm not very brave, man, and that's the bottom line. Okay, big show tonight. Like I said, if you're watching another channel,
get over here. If you're thinking about watching another wrestling promotion, don't do it because this is the only one that's live. Okay, big main event tonight. Never before seen on TV. The most dangerous match in the world. And you're gonna see it right here on Monday Nyquil. Oh yeah, yes, right here on Monday Nyquil. Bottle of Geritol on a pole match. First time ever in the world. You're gonna see all the old codgers here in our organization, and they're gonna be scrapping around and using their walkers, trying to keep the dentures in, and they're going for it because this is the hottest show on TV. Brother, this is the bottom line. We're number one. Did I repeat that I already fired the brain over the phone? Oh yeah, this is where the big boys play with each other. Oh yeah, did I tell you that we're number one? Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, the cameraman's telling me we gotta go to a break. I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know the names of any of the holds, but I'm gonna sit here and fumble around and bumble around, and if I put you to sleep, if I don't put you to sleep, the matches probably will, so bear with us. This is Monday Nyquil, and we're live!
Bongo, bongo. At this point, you may be thinking Austin was a bit obsessed with WCW, but that was the whole point. Even in his very last ECW promo, he still talked about how he was treated by his previous employer. You might have noticed too that Austin said that's the bottom line during this promo, and in his final promo he says it again twice. After the first match aired on this episode of Hardcore TV, the cameras cut back to Austin where he had fallen asleep, and after talking about how boring the match was, he fell asleep again. It just goes to prove again that Steve could do humour if given the opportunity, and he'd also go all in when necessary. ECW was quickly showing WCW that they lost one hell of an entertainer, and he had only been in ECW for a few weeks. Another Sandman vs Whipwreck match was shown later on. This time it was a ladder match for the ECW Championship, and Steve Austin made another appearance. Before the match got underway, Austin said he's a bit pissed off that some people said he looked like Hulk Hogan, and as he began to climb up the ladder, he said, "I didn't get to climb a ladder to the top in WCW like this." He then, once again, called out Whipwreck and Sandman. In regards to the woman who was standing at ringside, Austin said if he could rustle up $5 and a clothespin to put on his nose, he might give Nancy a try. And Austin took a shot at Kevin Sullivan here when he said women shouldn't look so angry, seeing as she was the one who married a midget and not Steve Austin. Austin leaves the ring, he takes Nancy with him, and Mikey was able to beat Sandman and become the new ECW champion. Sandman earned himself a rematch against Whipwreck at November to Remember 1995. Highlights of the show aired on ECW Hardcore TV on the 21st of November 95. However, Steve Austin attacked Sandman during the challenger's entrance, and Sandman was unable to compete in this scheduled match. Austin decided to get in the ring and take Sandman's place, so Steve Austin was wrestling for the ECW Championship in his debut match. Paul Heyman originally booked Austin to win the belt. He was supposed to become ECW champion on this night. However, Steve said it would make more sense for Mikey to beat him because it would surprise fans a little bit more. Down the road, Austin could then win the championship, but for now, Steve didn't want to take the championship from Mikey. So before the match, Austin made sure to keep his heat with WCW alive by saying tonight, for a very short period of time, Mikey Whipwreck's name is Eric Bischoff. Austin then told Mikey to get out of the ring while his name got announced. Not Hogan's name, not Flair's name, Austin's name. But Steve decided to jump Mikey as the champ was leaving the ring and the match was on. This match, I thought, was pretty solid. Austin doesn't speak too highly of his ECW matches, and he even went on record to say he's all but forgotten them in terms of what happened in the ring and the spots he performed. But this match isn't bad, and I think a lot of that has to do with the novelty of seeing Steve Austin perform in the ECW arena. In the end, Mikey grabbed Steve's tights when going for a pin. Austin didn't win the championship, but he made sure to attack Mikey after the bell. Steve would get another chance to win the gold, but after another failed attempt, he was already getting prepared to leave Extreme Championship Wrestling. Joey Styles announced that Austin, Whipwreck and Sandman were going to face off in a three-way dance at December to Dismember 1995. Footage of the match would air on the 12th of December, and Austin showed off a brand new haircut while also wearing plain black wrestling trunks. He wasn't entirely bald, but this was most definitely a kind of prototype version of what Austin would become in the WWF. This one goes for just under 20 minutes. Again, it doesn't seem to get reviewed very highly by Austin himself, but I enjoyed it just because it's Austin wrestling in ECW. Plus, this time he's sharing a ring with the Sandman. Unfortunately, Steve was unable to win the ECW championship, though he did get close. He nailed Sandman with some brass knucks and he almost got a 3 count, but Sandman got his foot on the ropes and the match continued on. Sandman ended up winning the match. Austin complained about the outcome, saying as he had a foot on the bottom rope himself. But after having some time to think about what happened and time to think about his ECW run up until this point, Austin would cut another promo that I thought was really well done. Austin's almost emotional here as he talks about failing to win the ECW championship, and he compares his shortcomings to what happened to him back in WCW. So let's take a look. This would be Austin's final ECW promo before getting signed by the WWF.
You know, over the last 6 or 7 weeks, everybody's heard me come out here and bitch and complain and sing a sad song about getting treated like a piece of crap in WCW. About how I never got a title shot. About how when I was a U.S. champion, the #1 contender, I never got a damn thing. I come right into ECW, run my mouth a little bit, and get 2 title shots. And man, I dropped the damn ball. Mikey Whipwreck went and pinned me 1, 2, 3. And then the Sandman did the same. You know, I just got off a long layoff. I just came back from an injury that would have put a lot of people out of the sport. The Sandman, the same goes for you, man. Second time in the ring, I dropped the ball and you get the win. Now my damn foot was on the rope and I was about to blow chunks at the end of the match. I'm out of shape, but man, I'm out there pounding the pavement. It was a lucky day, man. You pinned Steve Austin 1, 2, 3. After coming back from such a layoff, it makes you want to think, man, as hungry as I am, it makes me want to sit back and take a couple of more weeks off after I've been off for months because it seems like, man, maybe I can't cut it anymore. Maybe Steve Austin is never going to be the superstar that everybody thought he was going to be. You know, I come up here at Philadelphia and it's cold, and I'm listening to Joey Styles, and sure, he's cutting edge, and he's got a smart-ass attitude, and he actually knows the names of the holds, but god dang it, man, Eric, I'm telling you, I miss you, man. I think Joey Styles is good, but man, I never gave you enough credit. I think you're one of the best. You never got your dues as one of the best announcers in the sport. And I'm telling you right now, man, I think you're great. I love you, man. Take me back because I ain't got what it takes to get it done in ECW, man. Oh, yeah, take me back to WCW. Let me be a mid-card wrestler. Let me just scramble around. Let me get no dues. Don't give me nothing. Treat me like a piece of garbage, feed me garbage. As long as you send a weekly check, man, I'm gonna be happy. Yeah, that's what I ought to do, Eric. But I'm not gonna do that. Because I'm a little bit better than that. I'm a little bit better than everybody here in ECW. Oh yeah, I'm rusty as hell. I'm coming back from a hell of an injury. But I'm better than everybody in ECW. I'm better than the people that buy the tickets, and I'm better than the people that watch it on TV. Everybody starts yelling ECW, ECW. Like the ECW arena is the place to be. This is wrestling? No, it ain't wrestling. I done told you one time it's violent crap. The people out there, in my second title shot, they're out there yelling Hogan. They're yelling Forrest Gump, and they're yelling Gold Dust. I'm a hell of a lot better than that. You people get up every morning, you throw a ham and cheese sandwich in a metal lunchbox, you punch a time clock, you let some off yell at you for 9 hours, then you punch out and go back home to some hag. I'll never do that, man. Man, I'm flat out disgusted. I'm disgusted with myself. I'm disgusted with the last 4 years of my life. So I'm gonna take a week off. I might take 2 weeks off. I don't know how much time I'm gonna take off, but I'm gonna get my act together. Because all this that's gone on for the last few weeks and for the last 2 weeks of my life isn't where I'm supposed to be. So everybody out there can think exactly what they want. I bitched about not getting a title shot for 4 years, get two thrown in my face, and get shut down twice because I'm not where I should be. Well, Sandman, Whipwreck, whoever has the title, on my next shot, I won't be denied because you can't deny me. The only person here that can deny me is myself. And as I've worked hard to get back to where I should be, I haven't done it yet. But when I do, man, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be the ECW champ. I guarantee you, I'll be the ECW champ, the only champ that means a damn thing. And that's the bottom line.
Steve Austin credited two men for getting him a job in the WWF, Kevin Nash and Jim Ross. Nash told Vince McMahon that Austin was the hottest free agent in wrestling and he pestered Vince to sign Steve, while JR had watched what Austin was doing in ECW and he too told McMahon he should do everything he can to sign Steve. Steve said he had meetings with Vince in the past. He even had one of those famous meetings conducted in Vince's home in Stamford, but nothing came of it and he decided to stay in WCW. This time Austin did go to the WWF and, well, he was paired up with Ted DiBiase and he became the ringmaster. After all this stuff in ECW, these cutting edge promos that showed what Steve could really do if given a chance, he became another WWF character that had no direction. It was obvious that not enough people in the WWF were watching what Austin was doing in ECW, even though JR had watched it all. Thankfully, Austin was able to get away from all this in just a few months' time, and he was able to be himself once he became Stone Cold. He was only the ringmaster for around 3 months or so, and Austin credits ECW for giving him the opportunity to be himself and to show others that he had much more to offer. It's funny how it all turned out. Paul Heyman of ECW gave Austin the platform to show an early version of Stone Cold, while Eric Bischoff of WCW gave Steve the motivation to do so. In the end, it was the WWF who truly turned Steve into a megastar, and it was the WWF who benefited from Austin's poor treatment in WCW and his great treatment in ECW. Remember too that Austin had a handshake agreement with Paul Heyman. He wasn't under any kind of contract, and Heyman has historically been receptive of his guys getting jobs in the WWF if it meant they were going to earn more money. So there was no ill will between Austin and Heyman. As a matter of fact, they remained good friends, and Heyman took pleasure in the fact that he gave Austin a platform to show off what he was really capable of. I want to look into the Ringmaster in detail in a future video, but I'll wrap this one up right here. I hope you enjoyed this look at Steve Austin and ECW, and as always, I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Please take care.